What is up, YouTubers, and welcome back to another budget bucket list cars and bikes video for 2018. And look what we just picked up. We picked up a 2005 Speed Triple. Now, yes, that does sound familiar because I've already done a video on a 2005 Speed Triple, but this is the 1050. Now, you may remember if you've seen any of my other videos, I've already done a video on a 1050 Speed Triple Triumph, but that was a 2011. So effectively what I've done now is I've done a Gen 1, Gen 2 and Generation 3. There may actually be, I suppose, technically speaking, a Gen 4 and a Gen 5 now with the triple R's and all the rest of that kind of stuff that's coming out now. But this is what I would deem to be the Gen 2. The Gen 1 being the 955i, which I did the video on, which I hope you've already watched. The Gen 2, which is the same year, the first year they started doing the 1050s with the different, what can we say, different seat, different swing arm, different front end, apart from the fact that the lights are the same. Now, where we talk about the Gen 3, they started with the bug eyes. Now, there are some 2006 and 2007 with the bug eyes, so I'm not quite sure. I'd have to check Wikipedia to find out exactly what year brought out which generation, but for this video I'm going to call this the Gen 2 because it was the second generation in that respect from the 955. Hope that makes some kind of sense. I've just come back from a 100-mile trip. My brain's been frying in this glorious weather we're having down in Cornwall right now. Anyway, I picked this up yesterday afternoon, so this is going to be slightly different. What I want to do with this video is I want to show you the bike as it is when I got it, and then I'm going to do another one, a kind of part two of what I've done to it, and then you can kind of compare the differences and maybe make some comments on what you think I did right and maybe what I did wrong. Anyway, talking about this, as I said, it's a 2005 Speed Triple 1050 with just over 30,000 miles on it. Now, when I saw this advertised, I didn't actually like the look of the exhausts because the normal stock exhausts are pretty much like the one that's on there now, these kind of chrome cans, one either side. And I do like a twin exhaust, don't get me wrong, but I never really liked the stock Speed Triple exhausts, and these looked a little bit too much like that in the pictures. But they are Blue Flame twin shotguns. If you've watched the Suzuki 1000 SV that I did, that had the same exhaust on it, but not a high mount like this, and I didn't like it in the pictures, but now I kind of gotten used to it because it fills up that that kind of gap that you get between the rear hugger and the back end there, the rear subframe. It kind of fills that space up nicely, and it sounds fucking awesome, as you can imagine. We'll do a start up in the second video, I think, because I'm a bit too tired to do it now. As I said, I've just come off the motorway and I'm going home for my dinner. Anyway, this is going to be a pretty short one, kind of part one, as I said, just to show you what I bought, and then we'll go through what I did, because the things that I am going to change, I'm going to change the indicators, even though they're clear back and front. I just think they're a bit, I don't know, they look like testicles to me. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm going to change those out for the same ones that I put onto the last Speed Triple, oddly enough, because I think they're kind of cool, and they were only £8 for a set with LEDs. I might or might not have to get another relay to stop them flashing because they're LEDs. No biggies, they're a tenner off eBay, so it's not a big issue. This also comes with these kind of carbon fibre frame cover protector thingies, but the one on the other side, he couldn't get it to stay on. He's tried to glue it with something and he just couldn't get it to stay on. There's some residual kind of glue marks here. And he's also got the stock exhaust. Now he's going to send all that over to me because obviously I couldn't bring it back on the bike. So I'm going to find a way to get that carbon fibre cover on the frame again because I think it looks cool. The hanging gear, as I would call it, isn't as bad as it was on the 955i. I might get that powder coated like I did before, but I don't know. I mean, it's not in that bad a nick. That side's a little bit worse than the other. Now this was bought in Paignton, which I don't know if you know Cornwall, but Paignton's right on the coast basically, so a lot of salt air's come in. It's suffered a bit with rust. The guy's had it for like 7 years, I think he said, you know, and you can just see now there with the shock, the mounting specifically, and the gas canister starting to rust out a little bit, and on this rear subframe you can see there as well, starting to bubble up with the paint. So I'm going to address that as well. And there are a couple of little scuffs on the engine cases. Let's have a look around here now, especially here. Now all across here the paint's bubbling. It's not got to the point now where you'd kind of think, oh my Christ, that looks bloody awful. But I did already price up one of these clutch cover cases. I think that's actually the starter behind there, and they're about 70 to 100 quid to buy, in much better nick than this, and you just literally bolt a new one on, as it were. Or I could whip it off and have it powder coated, but I don't know what I'm going to do. It doesn't look so terrible that it makes you kind of gasp and go, my God, what's going on with that? So I'm not sure about what to do with that. So as I said, we're going to replace the indicators for a start, and we are going to replace the bulbs as we always do. I've also ordered some shorty levers, a job I've never done, so I'm looking forward to getting that done because it doesn't look too difficult. So I will be doing that. Now some people like these bar ends, and it's on the wheels as well. On the wheels it's a little bit Mad Max-ish, I suppose. Yeah, I'll probably leave that as it is, but I'm going to be putting on some bar end mirrors because these bug mirrors, bug-eyed, bug-eared mirrors, no, they've got to go. So bar ends, probably pretty much the same as the 955i ones. Again, they are about 8 quid a set, you know, and there's nothing wrong with them. You just push them in, you tighten them up, off you trot. I might get a new cover for the brake reservoir, I'm not sure. I might actually put a set of Renthals on there, because this is one of the few bikes I've ever had that's actually got stock bars on, because normally bikes of this kind of age, someone's already changed the bars, but they haven't on here. So I might, because again, a job I've never done. I'm going to put a carbon cover on here because I always do, and they're 10 quid, 11 quid, something like that, and they just add to it. There's a couple of tiny little scratches, as you would expect, consummate with its age, but again, a nice triple 1050 tank pad right in there is going to smarten that right up, no problem at all. I did consider, talking about the exhaust as we were just now, I have considered putting an Arrow Lowboy on here, which is the same as I had on my my 2011 Speed Triple 1050, because I think it looks fucking awesome. But as I said, the more I ride this bike and the more I see the stance with the twin shotgun exhaust at the back, the more I kind of think, nah, why would I? Why should I? You know, why waste that kind of money? Why spend 300 quid when I don't have to? I mean, I could probably get a couple of £100 for these Blue Flames, to be honest, because I've never seen them on a Triumph before, ever. So they're obviously made for this bike, as you can see. Somebody is probably going to pay me handsomely for a set of those, even used, I would think. Now then, it's going to have a tail tidy as well. I've already ordered that, an R&G and a smaller plate. We're going to whip that all the way back into there, and I'm trying at the moment to find a seat cowl, because unlike the 955, the red ones, seat cowls for this are normally between 50 and 100 quid, as opposed to the 150 quid if you can find one, seat cowls for the 955i. So I'm looking forward to getting over one of them if and when I can. Now, there is a slight issue on this, which I'm going to mention now, because hopefully by the time I make the part 2 video, it'll be fixed. And that is a very weird little clicking sound coming from the front of the bike. It doesn't do it freewheeling. It only does it once you put the brake on. Now, he did say, well, you can probably see there's loads of copper grease everywhere. They've had new pads put in here. And he said it wasn't making that noise before, so either they've got cheap chinky chonky pads in there which don't fit 100% and they're just literally clicking about a little bit in place. The anti-squeal shimmer is in there, so I don't know what's doing that, but I'm going to get it looked at, because it's not really my kind of expertise, that kind of stuff. I don't mind a bit of cosmetics, but something as integral as stopping the fucking bike, I'm going to let somebody else who knows what they're doing deal with that kind of business. I'm not sure what the shocks are on here. I mean, you'd think upside down Olins, but there's no reference to it. And talking about shocks, it failed its MOT on a blown seal, fork seal, and he'd had it done. I've got the receipt for it. It cost like 250 quid to get it done, but to me it looks like it's still leaking a bit, which is really, really odd. I'm not sure if you could see that side. Could be wrong. It could be that they're new and they're just bedding in, I suppose. Could be as simple as that. There's no kind of, that's the thing about fork seals, there's only a visual inspection really. You know, there's no obvious, oh, that's fucked, because obviously I've got no suspension at the front. It doesn't give you that kind of clue. It's a very visual thing, and that, to my mind, that shouldn't be looking like that, but it could be just bedding in, I don't know. Braided lines, obviously, always a bonus. We do like that. What else to tell you? Not a huge amount. I mean, this bike it's really tidy. I mean, for once I actually bid on a bike on eBay. I don't often do that because without seeing them. As I said, this is in Penzance, which is a good 50 miles from me, and I did what I shouldn't do and I hate doing, and that's got on a train, or 2 trains yesterday, and went and picked it up. But it was no biggie. I mean, it was the £13 ticket, so I just figured, screw it, let's go and have a look, and if it's as good as it seems, then I'm just going to ride it away. And it was. There's no problem with this bike really, apart from the slight clicking sound at the front with the brakes. I'm 90% sure it's something to do with the brakes. I'm going to get that looked at. And the one thing I would say is it's running a little rough under acceleration. Now that is because of those cans. I can almost guarantee, I'm 99% sure that it needs a quick tune to compensate for the cans, because the TPS would have kicked in by now, of course, but twin shotguns like that with the baffles out, it's not going to like that. It's going to struggle a little bit. So I'm going to get a great guy down here called Motor Repeat, I think his shop's called. He's done some work before for me for tuning bikes. I'm going to take it to him. I'm going to let him look at the brakes. I'm going to let him do basically a quick service on it. Not the oil change, because obviously that's too easy. I'll do that myself. But I'm going to get him to do a health check. I think it's probably a better word than a service. And just make sure there's nothing I've missed that he's going to say, look, Dan, this is screwed. You need to sort that out. You need to sort this out. I'm hoping there's going to be no dramas, because as you have to admit, it does look kind of sexy. And as I said, I won it for a really good price on eBay. I didn't think I'd get it for as low as I put it on for. I mean, I bid higher, and then it said you've won, and I'm like, oh wow. And I got it for at least 300 quid cheaper than I would have gone for, and my price would have been a good price. So that's given me some money to spend on things like the tail tidy, and just tidying things up generally, seat cowls, that kind of stuff, because they're not cheap. I mean, a tail tidy over here in R&G is 60 quid. A tail tidy anywhere between 50 and 100, depending if you get it black or carbon fibre. It's probably going to cost me a couple of hundred quid, I would think, to get the brakes issue sorted and a tune on those blue flame exhausts to get it running perfectly. So by the time I finished, that 300 quid that I didn't pay for the bike that I was expecting to will be swallowed up by that, and that's fine, because I'm still within what I would have paid, and everything is absolutely minted on it, apart from a couple of little paint issues, as we've discussed down there. Not sure if it'll actually come up on the camera. But I've looked into covers as well, because apparently there are some carbon fibre covers which literally kind of almost glue over this and over the clutch cover. Not sure which way to go, but that's why I'm making this video, a shortish one, just to show you what I picked up before I do anything else to it. Because invariably what we do is we make a video, the royal we of course, we make a video for you guys and show you the bike I've got, and then we talk about what I've done to it. So this time I wanted to buy the bike, show you it as it is, raw almost, and then I'll do a part 2 to show you what I've done, and then I can tell you what the clicking sound was, hopefully, and let you know if I got it tuned and if there were any other problems. So stand by for part 2. If you've got any advice on the clicking or tuning of the exhaust, or any questions at all, as always, just drop it in the comments. It's always nice to see comments down there, because it shows that you guys are watching and taking notice and you're interested, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because as I said, we're going to do a part 2 on this, and if you're interested, obviously come back in a couple of weeks and we'll see where we are with this. All right, cheers, take care.